knowledge, wisdom, sadhana, preaching, commitment. And in this way, the focus on that, we need sannyasis in our society to be examples, ideal examples of spiritual consciousness and application of the spiritual values. And our sannyasis in ISKCON also, in general, that's the purpose of sannyas and the responsibility of sannyas. And in ISKCON, our sannyasis also, the responsibility as established by Srila Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he gave himself sannyas. When you come to Mayapur, you can visit Sri Chaitanya Mott, where the bhajan shthan of Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, where Shatakoti Nam, Brata, 1 billion names for several years, more than 5 years. He was remaining here in Chaitanya Mott, chanting 192 rounds a day. Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And after that Brata, he had a dream and the Panchatattva appeared before him. Panchatattva and Nityananda Prabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the previous acharyas, Narottam, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, all the exalted Vaishnavas, and they requested him to give up this tapasya, enough of this tapasya, and go and preach Krishna consciousness. And Siddhanta Thakur, he was hesitant that how can I preach? Ekaki amar nahi pai bol harinama sankirtane. Alone, I do not have the ball. Ekaki amar nahi pai bol. I do not have strength harinama sankirtane to perform sankirtan, spread the sankirtan movement. And they all mentioned that we will help you. We will help you, Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. We will help you. And shortly after that, Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he went to Calcutta and established the first Gaudiya Math, Ultradanga Road. It's not far from the airport, actually, Ultradanga. And ISKCON acquired that property, the first Gaudiya Math, and which was extensive, where Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur remained extensively for 12 years. And most of the Gaudiya Math preaching, establishing 64 months throughout India and abroad, Burma, Nepal, and Sri Lanka, even England, a small center, Saraswati Thakur established. So at that time, he gave himself sannyas. You'll see in ISKCON, our altar, you'll see Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Gokishore Das Babaji Maharaj, Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. They're in white cloth, Babaji Besh, and they're not even wearing Brahman threads. They're not even wearing Brahman threads. This is the conclusion of the Goswami. Naham Vipra, Nacha Narapati, Nabi Vaishana Shudro, Nahambarni, Nacha Grihapati, Joganashtava Kintu Dom. Nikala Paramaananda Punamrita Bear, Govi Batu, Parakamalayo, Dasha Dasha, Anadash in Ratha Chatra. In Puri, Mahaprabhu is chanting this prayer. Naham Vipra, I'm not a Brahmin. Naham Vipra, Nacha Narapati, Nabi Vaishana Shudro, not a Vaishana, not a Sudra, not a anything. Naham Vipra, Nacha Narapati. Nahagriyapati, I'm not a sannyasi, Jovati, I'm not a sannyasi, I'm not a grihasti. Kintu pradam nikala pramanamritam ripunamrita begopi bhatur padakamalaya dasha dasha anudash. The servant of the servant of the servant of the maintainer of the gopis. The lover of the gopis. So this is the identity of the Vaishnava, and therefore caste is of no consideration in Vaishnavism. Caste is of no consideration. Dinnahin jotachilo hariname utharilo. Even the most, as degraded as you can possibly come, socially, morally, dinnahin jotachilo, as you can possibly become. Hariname utharilo. The holy name will deliver you. Tashaki jogai madhai. Evidence of that is jogai madhai. So in this way, Brahmanism is not particularly an important component, definitely not a component eligibility of Krishna consciousness. And Srila Prabhupada, he was criticized by the aristocratic Hindu leaders in India that you're polluting Hinduism because you're giving the Brahmin thread to the Westerners, and they were performing the fire yagya. But this is all according to the conclusions of the Shastra. Chatur, what is that? What is that? Janma karma. Chaturvanam maya shrishtam guna karma vibhaga shaha. Fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Chaturvanam, the four varnas, maya shrishtam. I established, Krishna says, I have established guna karma vibhaga shaha. And they're determined according to one's qualities and activities. So not birth. Prabhupada will give the example. It's not that the son of a high court judge automatically becomes a high court judge. No. And even one whose father is not a high court judge, he can become a high court judge, is if he has the appropriate qualifications and training. And similarly, not simply by birth. And we see in the modern ages simply this corruption of the Varna Ashram system, that exploitation, that simply by birth one is claiming the prestige of being a Brahmin by lacking the qualifications and the activities. One time I was in Bangladesh, in Dhaka, we were going for a program. I was sitting in the vehicle and a person came who was chatting to me through the window, and he showed me his Brahmin thread. Like this, he showed me his Brahmin thread and said, I am also a Brahmin. As though the thread makes you a Brahmin. The thread you can purchase in the market for a few paisa. It's not that having the thread makes you a Brahmin. Let's open the fridge. Let's open the fridge and we'll see what sort of Brahmin you are. Let's open the fridge. We were discussing in our Vaishnava culture course that the fridge, those who are worshipping Krishna at home, a separate fridge, only for Krishna's bhoga, for the ghee wicks, for the articles, for the flowers, for the bhoga, they'll be cooked and offered to the Lord. And no remnants of prasad, not even prasadam is put in that fridge. What to speak of the remnants. So this is Brahminical culture. Samadama tapa soksham chantirajam vivachaganam vigyanam ashtikyam brahma karma shabhavajam. Krishna explains in Gita. Sama, steadiness of mind. Dhamma, sense control, rising early, 4 a.m. Samadama tapa, controlling this. Tapa soksham, cleanliness, at least taking bath twice a day, if not 3 times a day. And wearing fresh tilak and wearing fresh clothes. Jnanam, knowledge, vigyanam, how to apply that knowledge, shastrik knowledge, how to apply that knowledge, brahma karma svabhavikam, ashtikam, simplicity in life. This is what makes one a Brahmin, not simply wearing the thread or that one's father is a Brahmin and lacking the training. Of course, the son of a high court judge has certainly great facility to become a high court judge himself. But simply birth is not the qualification. So this is the conclusion, a Goswami Siddhanta is conclusion of Vaishnavism, and therefore the Vaishnavism were not even part of Varnashram Dharma. So Thakur Bhaktivinoda, Gokasha Das Babaji, Jagannath Das Babaji were not even sannyasis in Varnashram Dharma. The Avadut, the Babaji is already realized their eternal identity as Krishna's servant, and serving Krishna in that way. This is the style of the Vaishnavism to establish this conclusion. In fact, in the Bhagavat, Devahuti, Kapil mother of Kapil Dev, Devahuti, she's discussing with Kapil Dev, 3rd canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 25, that aho bhatta sapacho togari yangya jibagre bhatida namatubhyam te pustapaste juhubu shashnu arya brahmana chanamagrinanti yete. How glorious, aho bhatta swapacho togariyan. How glorious are those who are born in the family of Dogit, swapacho togariyan, ya jibagre bhartita namatubhyam. If they take namatubhyam, your name on their tongue, jibagre namatubhyam, just by a little chanting of the holy name, Jibagre, just by the beginning of chanting, or a little chanting, Jibagre, Namatubhyam. Tepus, tapas, te juhubu shashnu arya. Tepus, tapas, they performed all of the ritualistic ceremonies prescribed in the Vedas, all of the austerities. Juhubu shashnu, traveled to all of the holy places and taken their bath, performed all of the Vedic ritualistic rites. Brahmanachu, studied all the Vedas. Namagrinanti yete, just by accepting your name. So this is the conclusion of the Vaishnava teachings, the Goswami Siddhanta, conclusion of the Goswamis. However, in order to establish the mission of preaching Krishna consciousness, Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he incorporated sannyas ashram. He incorporated Varnashram Dharma. He called it Daivi Varnashram, in order to firstly to organize his mission. So he became a sannyasi, and then he put the Brahmin thread on. He put the Brahmin thread on himself and initiated himself into sannyas. This is not something that we imitate, but because he had no godbrothers who were sannyasis, and there were no Vaishnava sannyasis. So he is such a powerful acharya. He gave himself sannyas. So in front of the picture of Gokul Babaji Maharaj, who was not himself wearing them. And the mantras that the sannyasis chant, sannyas mantras, the Gayatri's mantras that are chanted by ISKCON devotees, that's all established directly by Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He's established those mantras that second initiated devotees chant in ISKCON. And he was chanting those mantras, and he initiated his disciples into those mantras in order to establish temples and the puja. The puja was done by the initiated Brahmins, and the temples, just like in ISKCON, not anyone can enter the temple room in the ISKCON temple and do the puja. One has to be second initiated and receive the appropriate mantras coming through Srila Prabhupada, coming from Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So sannyas was required because, of course, Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he didn't require sannyas in order to, even for his sadhana, even for his consciousness, but it was suitable because Mahaprabhu, for the same reason, took sannyas. When they see me, they will fall down and hold my feet. In this way, I'll deliver the whole world, even those who are not interested in associating with me as a householder. For this reason, Mahaprabhu took sannyas. So this is the theme of the discussion of today. That you become a sannyasi, but actually it wasn't necessary for Mahaprabhu to take sannyas, wasn't necessary for him to live Navadip, wasn't necessary for him to give up the association of Antaranga Bhaktagan in Mayapur, his intimate associates. This is all done simply to spread the Sankirtan movement. And sannyasi is not like now, we can travel and come back. You can take a plane, you can go to Mangalore, do some courses, come back. Mayapur. No, Mahaprabhu also went West India, along the coast there to Udupi, and but that's a long way. Walking. There's no trains, there's no planes, there's no cars, nothing. No walking. Even when we were there in Udupi, we hear the glories of Sri Madhvacharya. He walked to Bhadrakashram, the very northern extremes of India. He walked. So, and walks up through the Himalayas, Madhvacharya, and such great, powerful personalities. Mahaprabhu similarly walked. So the South India tour took 2 years. So at that time, when the Sachimata was saying that, because Shanyashira Alpa Kidra Shabaloga, this so much focus is placed on the sannyas ashram, because such a sannyasi is ideal, an emblem of Brahminical values. And in that way, they're a source of great inspiration to the society at large. However, there's a great responsibility the sannyasis have to be ideal in their behavior, and there's less pressure on the other ashrams. There's less pressure, but on the sannyasis, everyone is looking because they're getting inspiration. So the sannyasi has to be ideal. One associate, I'm fortunate to say, associate and friend, Bhakti Prem Shami Maharaj. He's a leader and organizer in ISKCON Ujjain. Sannyasi, a young man. He was just almost 50 when he took sannyasi, young man. So he's an advanced devotee, been a devotee for 30, 40 years, conversant in all aspects of philosophy. Every day he attends the entire temple morning program, Mangalati, Tulasi Puja, Japa, greeting the deities, Guru Puja class. Every day, without fail, he attends. Even not actually required. He could be doing his own sadhana and studies, but every day. Why? Because setting an example for inspiring the devotees in general. So this is the responsibility of sannyasi in ISKCON. And for the same reason, Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave himself sannyas and initiated sannyasis. So therefore, the highlighted sannyasis are highlighted. Everything they do is known, and therefore a slight discrepancy on the behalf of a sannyasi. Sannyasi alpa kidra, a slight discrepancy. Sharbalo gai. It is broadcast throughout the whole of the society. So Sachimata was saying that if I hear even a slight criticism, what sort of a sannyasi is remaining at home, attached to his place of birth, attached to his childhood friends, attached to his family, his mother. If Sachimata would hear such criticism, and such criticism would be there because sarvalokai, any discrepancy on the part of a sannyasi is advertised like wildfire, Prabhupada says, translates. So Sachimata was explaining that would be so, although it's so painful for me to not have your association, Jai Shachi Nandan, Jai Shachi Nandan, Jai Shachi Nandan, we're chanting Jai Shachi Nandan, means the darling of Mother Sachi. Just imagine how much attached Sachimata is to Nimai. After her eight daughters were born and passed away, and then that was pretty traumatic. And then Vishwarup was born. That was a great source of joy. Then Vishwarup took sannyas, very painful. Sachimata and Jagannath Mishra. Shortly after the sannyas of Vishwarup, Jagannath Mishra left the world. So you can just imagine how distraught was Sachimata, and all she had was Nimai, Sachikumar, Sachiparan, Sachinandan. All she had was Nimai. And Vishnupriya was cooking and Sachimata was serving Nimai. Vishnupriya, Sachimata and Nimai were living for 4 years here in Mayapur while Mahaprabhu was performing his Sankirtan pastimes. And Nimai was everything to Sachimata. Nimai was everything. So you can imagine how distraught she was when he took sannyas. Unknowingly, she arrives in Shantipur, sees him in his sannyas dress. How painful that was for her. But she said, still, it would be so painful for me if I hear such criticism, if I hear criticism of Nimai. And then she explained that Jagannath Puri, this is why Mahaprabhu went to Jagannath Puri, and Jagannath Puri is such a special place for us. Of course, Lord Jagannath is there, the Lord of the universe, that in itself, but Mahaprabhu also further embellishing and enriching the experience of the tirtha, the potency of the tirtha, that the Supreme Lord was present in the form of Lord Jagannath, and he was present in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performing Sankirtan in Jagannath Puri. So Sachimata was suggesting Jagannath Puri. Tumi shab korite paro gamon agamon ganga shnane kobu hove tar agamon. That you, she's saying to the devotees, you men in the Navadip Basis, Tumi shab korite paro gamon agamon. You can go and come. Korite paro gamon agamon. You can go to Jagannath Puri and come. And in this way, I will hear about him. I will hear about him. And every year, the devotees from Navadip and from Bongo Bhumi, every year they went to Jagannath Puri and stayed for the 4 months of the Rath Yatra and Chaturmasya period, which just completed a couple of weeks ago, Bhishma Pancha. And Ganga Shnane Kobu Hobetar Agamon. Ganga Shnane Kobu Hobetar Agamon. He may also come to take bath in Mount Ganga. Sachimata understanding how attached Nimai was to Marganga. From the very infancy, every day Sachinandan was enjoying in the Ganga Jal Snan and enjoying. Bancha Kalpotaru, Shri Gaura Shundor, Janavir Bancha, Punnakore Nirantor. Vrindavan Das Thakur explains that Bancha Kalpataru, Shri Gaura Shundor, the wish-fulfilling desire tree, Sri Goshundor, Janabir Bancha, the desire of Maganga, Janabir Bancha, Punna Kore Nirantor. He fulfills incessantly, eternally. Mahaprabhu is he's always fulfilling the desire of Ganga, Maganga, by bathing in her. He would bathe in the morning, and then after studies, he would again spend several hours with his boyfriends, the other students, Shishugan, and enjoying in the Ganga. We will discuss in a future meetings. Navadip Leela, Mahaprabhu's Ganga, Ranga, his pastimes in Ma Ganga. And in the evening, he would again go to the banks of the Ganga and sit and give his class. And in this way, she could see Mahaprabhu. He was drinking her waters. He was bathing in her waters, and it fulfilled her eager desire for his association. Ganga ki jai. And then this event that now we're discussing, the Himayosh Ganga Snane Kobo Hove Tar Agamon. He may come again to take bath in the Ganga. Sachimata was predicting in Shantipur. And now he has come. Before leaving Jagannath Puri, he requested Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Ramananda Roy that go to Deshe Mor Dui Shama Srai Janani Janabhi E Dui Doyamoy. In Gauda Desh, I have two shelters, Janani, Sachimata, and Janabhi, Maganga, E Dui Doyamoy. These two are full of mercy. So for this reason, I'll go to Vrindavan via Bengal. And Mahaprabhu has come to the house of Vachaspati in Bidanagar. And in this way, he's fulfilling the prediction of Sachimata that Ganga Snane Kobohovitar Agamon, he may also come and take bath in the Ganga. And before reaching Bidanagar, which we're discussing today, Mahaprabhu spent again journeyed through Shantipur, Panihati, Shantipur, and at that time, Sachimata came again for the 3 times, actually, immediately taking sannyas on this journey before going to Ramkeli and then meeting Sanatana and Rupa and Sanatana and returning. So 3 times Mahaprabhu actually went through Shantipur, and Sachimata was able to see him again on those occasions. So Mahaprabhu came to the house of Vidya Vachaspati, the brother of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, in Vidyanagar, which is on the western bank of Maganga. In Mayapur in the evening, you'll see the sunset over Maganga. So on the western bank, on that side of Maganga, is Vidyanagar, and Mahaprabhu journeying along the western bank of the Ganga, fulfilling the responsibility of a sannyasi never to return to his place of birth. Mahaprabhu came close by Navadip so that all of the residents of Navadip could come and take advantage of his association. That was the real reason. However, to Vidya Vachaspati, he was explaining that, he's explaining to Vidya Vachaspati that Chittamor hoye che mathura jaite. My desire in my heart is to go to Vrindavan, Kota Din, Ganga Shnan, Korimu, Etate, and for a few days I'd like to remain here and bathe in the Ganga. So you kindly give me a quiet, private room and allow me to enjoy bathing in the Ganga in a peaceful way. And Vachaspati explaining how fortunate we are. My whole family has become blessed because of you coming to my home. I will certainly provide for you a solitary room. No one will know that you are here, and you can peacefully bathe in the Ganga as many days as you like. But Vrindavan Das Thakur is explaining that just like the sunrise, can anybody keep confidential the sunrise? The sun hasn't risen. We won't tell anybody about it. Surja Uday ki kokon goppahoy. Can anyone keep confidential the rising of the sun? So in this way, Navadip Adi, Shardavadike Hoilo Dhani. Navadip Adi for the all through Navadip. Shardavadike Hoilo Dhani. This sound was traveling all through Navadip and all of the Navadip Adi very as far as you can go in Navadip. Navadip Adi Shardavadik Hoilo Dhani Vachaspati Ghore Ailo Nyasha Chodamani. The shining jewel of the sannyas order. Nyasha Chodamani, Vachaspati Gore, is in the house of Vijay Vachaspati in Vidyanagar. So all of the people, Sarvalok, all of the people, the Shuniya Loka Hoila Chittu Ulash, they became enlivened and joyful just hearing that Nyasha Chodamani was in the house of Vachaspati in Vidyanagar. And then immediately they began to to journey. We were discussing last week that Sri Putra Deho Geho Shakal Pashari. They forgot hearing about and planning and starting and chanting Hari Hari. Ananda Shakal Lok Bali Hari Hari. They're all exuberant even before going. Just hearing about Nyasha Chodamani, the Krish jewel of the sannyasis, Sri Sachinanda and Gold Hari in Vidyanagar. They became so excited and so much anticipation. They forgot their wife, their son, their body, their house, everything. So let's go and be blessed by his lotus feet. Ananta Orda Buddha Log Bali Hari Hari. Unlimited. Unlimited millions of people. Orda Buddha Log Bali Hari Hari were chanting Hari Hari. Chalilin Deki Bari Gauranga Sri Hari. And they all began in a massive movement of people. They all began Chalilin Deki Bari to see Gauranga Sri Hari, to see that Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sri Sachinanda, Gauranga Sri Hari, Nyasha Chodamani. Now it's very interesting. This is the nature of the Sankirtan movement. The Sankirtan movement. On our own, Ekaki Ama Nahi Pai Bola. It's very difficult. Just like we live in a community of devotees. If we can, Tadera Charana Shaibi, Bhakta Shane Bash, Janame Janami Hoi Ei Abhilash. Narottam Mahashai, Ei Abhilash, his desire is that Janame Janami Hoi, Bhakta Shane Bash. I can live in the association of the devotees. If we can just keep the association of the devotees, if we can live, of course, live in a community of devotees, that's the best. We're fortunate to be residing here in Sri Mayapur, Navadip, Sri Mayapur, Antadeep, where ISKCON World Headquarters is established. And wherever, there's so many apartments here. Actually, the doors are all closed here because the sound, even early in the morning from 6 a.m. every morning, there's construction going on. They're just next door to me, construction almost completed. And now another place, a couple of doors down, construction. But the good news is that hundreds and hundreds of flats, hundreds and hundreds of apartments, but it's only devotees. It's only wandering the streets of Mayapur, come to and from temple. It's only devotees living here, a whole city of devotees. Thakur Bhaktivinoda envisioned, Prabhupada envisioned a city of 50,000 people. All devotees, all following the principles of Krishna consciousness. So in this way, just by living with devotees, it's easy to maintain your Krishna consciousness. And unfortunately, if we're living with the non-devotees, then it actually compromises. Shangat Sanjayate Kama. In Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, Krishna explains that Sangat Sanjayate Kama. One's desires, they develop Sangha according to the association that one keeps. So if I'm reflecting my experience of becoming a devotee of Krishna, that I became a devotee of Krishna because I started visiting the ISKCON temple, a temple established by Srila Prabhupada, and he's in 1974, and he sat on Vyasa-san and he said, the people of Melbourne, Australia, have become blessed, become fortunate because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has appeared here. So Prabhupada established that temple. And just by visiting that temple and associating, just like we're very excited, ISKCON Mangalore, we're establishing a temple. Of course, we have our internet connections, we have our parikramas, but actually we need a temple that we can all come together and associate and perform sadhana bhakti, bhagavad bhakti, and in this way get enthusiasm, get support, actually get mercy from the association of the devotees that we keep everywhere. A temple, brahmacharis living at the temple, some sannyasis, and maybe some of our leaders in Mangalore can consider taking sannyas. Then we have a brahmachari ashram, and then we have brahminical grihastas living around the temple with their families, we have schools, so many things, a community, and just being a member of the community. It's very easy for us to practice Krishna consciousness. This is Prabhupada's vision. So in this way, everyone was swept up in the movement, a social movement, or Buddha log. So many uncountable, millions of people were all swept up. Just one person on their own, probably you would lose determination. That's why it's so extraordinary. Srila Prabhupada's
Leela that he was on his own, Prabhupada, coming to the West. And for a year, he's hardly any success, hardly any establishing anything. But Prabhupada on his own. No, any ordinary person, any ordinary devotee wouldn't be able to sustain enthusiasm. Just like a spark from a fire. A spark comes out of the fire, comes in contact with the earth, very quickly it is extinguished. Excuse me. Excuse me. Sorry about this. Class hoche, clase boshe আছে, clase boshe আছে। পরে কথা বল। ঠিক আছে, ঠিক আছে। Prabhupada was on his own. Any ordinary devotee just wouldn't sustain enthusiasm, determination. Yeah, Prabhupada was on his own, and such enthusiasm, and in this way, both and Prabhupada gave association. As a result of the association of Srila Prabhupada, he produced like a Chintamani. He produced so many committed devotees who gave up their lives. They're early members of our movement, the early devotees from the West, the young girls and boys, teenage men and teenagers, young men and women who gave their lives to Srila Prabhupada. And they were the ones who actually traveled all over the world and spread Krishna consciousness. And having set up centers all over the world, they called Srila Prabhupada and he came and established the temples. But young, enthusiastic devotees, they were so committed. Gave up their lives, gave up everything in their lives, gave up everything. And joined this movement. Why? Because that was Prabhupada's mood. Prabhupada had given up everything and they were affected by his association. Similarly, I joined the movement in the mid-1980s and that's the mood. We gave up everything. We gave up everything and gave our life to the movement of Srila Prabhupada and the movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, understanding its importance. There are so many engineers, there's so many doctors, there's so many lawyers already in the world. We don't need more of them. So many of us gave up our careers in the material world to become preachers of Krishna consciousness because that was lacking. Those giving their life to spreading the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. So as a result of it, I personally didn't meet Prabhupada and associate with Prabhupada, but I met devotees who met Prabhupada and had given their lives to the service of Srila Prabhupada. We became affected by their association. So in this way, association is so important. And a huge movement of people were all inspired to go and see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Shuno, are bhai, Chaitanya Akhyan. Now listen, brothers and sisters, Chaitanya Akhyan. The descriptions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jai Rupe, Korila, Prabhu, Sharava, Jivatran. Jai Rupe, in the form, Korila Prabhu Sharava Jivatran, in the form in which he delivered the entire, all humanity. Let's hear about this form. Now, Vrindavan Das Thakur is going to describe this lila, this form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how he bestows mercy, unlimited mercy, on so many living entities. So they began making their journey toward Vidanagar from Mayapur, and there was no path. And there were so many people that wouldn't fit on the path. A little path in the village, tens of thousands of people, the path loses all of its significance. They're just walking through the jungle and the thorny bushes and the woody and the wild jungle, and just clearing it as they go. Makeshift pathways were made. As they were traveling through the jungle and just making the makeshift pathways, huge, massive columns of people, Sharaba Dike Lok Shab Hari Boli Jai, they're all chanting the holy name, Heno Ranga Kora Prabhu Gauranga Sri Gauranga Rai. These are the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that, because of accepting sannyas, which he did to attract people, and because of journeying again through Bengal and making himself available to the Navadip Vasis by visiting Vidyanagar. Then they're all completely enlivened and in ecstasy, and they're trampling their way through the jungle, chanting Hari Hari. These are the pastimes. Heno ronga kore. This is the enjoyment of the Supreme. The Supreme Lord's enjoyment. This is why he appears in this world. And he enjoys his pastimes. These are his pastimes that he's creating. He's inducing tens of thousands of people to in madness, trampling through the forest, chanting the names of Hari Hari. Heno ronga kore Prabhu. Sri Gauranga Rai, this is in pastimes of enjoyment. So as they were making their way through the jungle, they were discussing in great expectation that I will see him, I will fall at his feet, and I will beg him to sever all of my material attachments. And others would saying, if I could just see him once with these eyes, if I could just see him once, I will receive everything obtainable. Another was saying that, well, I didn't understand who he was when he was in Navadip, and I criticized him. I will fall at his feet and I will beg forgiveness for my offenses. Another was saying that my son is a compulsive gambler. I will beg the Lord to make him to stop. Just see, 500 years ago, gambling was a problem. It's a problem now in Bengal. There's people sitting and playing cards, wasting their time, what to speak of gambling. Problem all over the world. Suicide, casinos, it's a big thing. People, so many suicides, they can't stop. Hopefully I'll win tonight, gambling. Compulsive gambler, beg the Lord. Of course, you chant Hare Krishna, you can become free from all of these unwanted things, unnecessary things. Bishaya Chariya, Shay Roshe Majia, Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari. Mukhe Bolo, Lochan Das Thakur is singing at Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari. You're chanting Hari Hari in your lips. Bishaya Chariya, Shay Roshe Majia. And entering Shay Rosh, the Harinam, the Nam Rosh, the Prem Rosh, the flavor of serving Krishna and tasting Krishna consciousness, tasting love of Krishna, Sheba Ananda, Sheba Shuk, which Lord becomes pleased when we chant his name. When we chant his name, we enjoy. Harinam Ananda, Shay Roshe Majiye, entering into that flavor, the joy, the bliss of chanting the holy name, Vishaya Charya. One loses one's desire for sense enjoyment. One loses the taste for sense enjoyment as a result of chanting the holy name. So in this way, they were all discussing as they were making their way through the jungle. E Marto, Bolia, Anande, Sharabajan, Cholia, Jayen Shabe, Paramanandamon, in great joy in their minds, E Marto, Bolia, they were saying, Ananda Sharabajan, in great bliss, Cholia, Jayen, they were going and making their way through the jungle. This is, by the way, text 304 of Antolila, chapter 3, Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat. For those of you who may be interested in what we're reading from, Antolila, Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, chapter 3, text 304. So there was a big problem. As they got through the jungle, they came to Maganga, Vidanaga on the other side of the Ganga. And there was not enough boats to take the boat. Whatever boats were there, immediately they become filled, hundreds of people. The huge boats here. I remember when I first came to Mayapur 20 years ago, there's a boat would take you over to Navadip, small boat. And now that boat, the size of that boat is just increased. And it's like a huge ship. It's like a huge 300 people they can fit on those boats. And they fill up every few minutes. Navadip, Mayapur has become so crowded. The last couple of decades, so many people have come here because so much development as a result of ISKCON, establishing Temple of Vedic Planetarium, so much development. That boat has just got bigger and bigger. It's a huge one, like a ship. 300 people, they pack into that boat and cross over. Anyway, Mahaprabhu's pastimes here, there were not enough boats. The boatmen were in great anxiety. Immediately they're calling all of their cousins, their brothers, their friends, bring more boats, bring more boats.
All of the boats were completely jam-packed, and some of the boats were sinking, but there no one was drowning. The earth came, the earth appeared. The earth appeared under the boats. And those who couldn't get into the boat, they were taking the big clay pots. You've seen in the villages, big clay pots they make. They keep water in those pots. So they were taking those pots, tying them around them, and using those as flotation devices, and this were bobbing and crossing over the Ganga. Others were cutting banana tree, strapping together a few banana tree trunks, make a raft, cross over. When there's flood in Mayapur, I've seen the very next day, local men, they're banana trees, they make a raft and standing and then cruising here and there. So the banana tree trunks, they made rafts. And as they were all, and others are just jumping in the Ganga and swimming across. Choturi Dike Shardabalok Kore Hari Doni. As they were crossing the Ganga in all directions, everyone was chanting the name of Hari. Kore Hari Doni. Brahmanda Bedaya Jenoheno Jotoshuni. The sound of their chanting could be heard throughout the entire creation. Brahmanda Bedaya. Brahmanda Beraya, Jeno, Heno, Jotoshuni, could be heard throughout the entire creation. That was the sound that they were making as they were crossing the Ganga. So having crossed the Ganga, Heno Mote, Ganga Bar, Baro, Hoi Sharabajon, Shabai Doren, Bachashpati Choron, immediately landing on the other side of Ganga, they immediately went to the house of Vidya Bachashpati, Shabai, Doren, Bachashpati, Charan, and they all fell down and clasped the lotus feet of Vidya Bachashpati. Parama Shukriti Tumi, Maha Bhagyavan, Jagore Oilo Chaitanya Bhagavan, Parama Shukriti Tumi. You are so fortunate, Parama Shukriti, so fortunate, Maha Bhagyavan. You are very saintly, Paramashukriti, and Mahabhagyavan are so fortunate. Ja Gore Oilo Chaitanya Bhagavan, because you have in your home Chaitanya Bhagavan. Of course, that same fortune can be experienced by any devotees. In our movement here, Vidya Vachaspati is so fortunate because he personally had the Supreme Lord Chaitanya Bhagavan in his home, but we can also have Chaitanya Bhagavan in our home in his deity form, so Obinna Prakash, and he will manifest there according to the devotion with which we worship him, the devotion with which Mama Vart Manavartante Munashapart Sharvashaham Jay Jatamam Prapadyante Tung Tataiva Bajamiyaham. As we surrender unto the Lord, in that way he will reciprocate with us. So the consciousness that we have that the Lord is present in the deity and we're worshipping with whatever regulation we can maintain. At home, you don't have to necessarily have, you don't have to have the same standard that's in the temple. In the temple, you have several pujaris, and they're residing there, and the worship is constantly performed every day according to the same standard. Now at home, that won't be possible. So whatever standard you can maintain, you should establish and maintain that. Even the pictures you can worship. Pictures, offer boga, offer the arati once or twice a day if you can, and chant the holy name, do kirtan. You can read the Shastra, read Bhagavad Gita in front of your pictures, in front of your deities, offer boga. In this way, the Lord will appear there. And you can also become Mahabhagyavan, because Jagore Oilo Chaitanya Bhagavan, he will appear there in your home to accept your worship. And then they explain their consciousness, they're considering that they have such great opportunity. Bhavakupe poti potishta amisho. Bhavakupe is the well of materialism. Bhavakupe potit. We've fallen into the Bhavakupe. Bhavakupe potit. We've fallen into the well, deep dark well of Bhavakupe, of material life, in which you forget who you are.
and coming to Krishna consciousness and being Bhagavad Bhakti Jogata Evam Prashanna Manasa. Bhagavad explains that one becomes enlivened in life. Bhagavad Bhakti Jogataha Evam Prashanna Manasa. One's manna prashanna manasa, one becomes enlivened, becomes joyful as a result of Bhagavad Bhakti Jogata, practicing Krishna consciousness. And I remember, I reflect back on those dark days in my life when I didn't know who I was. I was thinking I was Australian, thinking I was a boy, an Australian, a family, and my life is to get a job and make money and enjoy the senses. The deep dark days of Bhavakupe, fallen into the well, a deep dark well of materialistic life, and forgetting who we actually are, forgetting that we're Krishna's servant. And so we just consider how merciful the devotees of the Lord are. Even in the beginning, we're reluctant to accept the teachings of Krishna consciousness, to accept that we're reluctant, we're hesitant, we're refusing, trying to find excuses. But the patient and tolerant devotees, they can carry on with great determination to show mercy upon us. For me, it took a couple of years. And eventually I realized and I became a full-time devotee. And we were delivered from the Bhavakupe, from the deep dark well where you completely forget. And unfortunately, in that situation, people are quite content. They're quite content. There's nothing wrong. I'm fine. How are you? Yeah, I'm fine. You don't know who we are. At any moment, everything can be taken away. Such a precarious situation. Where we will be in the next birth, no idea. And no, I'm fine. Everything's fine with me. So this is the predicament. Bhavakupe, we fall down and we think we're okay. It's only the mercy of the devotees who induce us, who inspire us, who induce us, awaken us to Krishna consciousness. And in this way, Vanchakalpa Taru, the Vanchakalpa, the desire fulfilling Vaishnavas. Vanchakalpa Taru, Kripa Shindu Vyavacha, Kripa Shindu, an ocean of mercy, Kripa Shindu Vyavacha. Putitanam Pavanebhyo, they deliver the fallen, Vaishnavebho, Vaishnavas, Namo Namaha. We offer our obeisances unto the Vaishnavas. So the residents of Navadip were explaining to Vijayapatashpati that Bhavakupe, we were in that deep dark well of materialism. Bhavakupe potit, popishto, amisho, popishta, sinful. This is the awkward predicament we find ourselves in the Bhavakupe, that we perform sin is thinking it's okay. This is tamagun, thinking it's okay. You go to the supermarket, all of the obnoxious, unmentionable items are there, just you can purchase. No one will say anything. And everyone is purchasing. Sinful life. Because everyone is performing sinful life. It has become a standard. Even you'll find from Bharat Bhumi, the expatriates, they go to the foreign countries and then they give up the culture. They give up the traditional culture of India and they become meat eaters, become beef eaters and drunkards. Because in the West, everyone eats meat and drinks. It's a daily affair. And they become affected by that association. It becomes sinful as due to association. So this is the consequences of being in the Bhavakupe. Bhavakupe poti papishta amishab. In the well of material existence, sinful. Ek grame na janile tar anubhav. Ek grame, although we were living in Navadip, and we could see him, Nimai Pandit, we knew him. Janila tar, na janila tar anubhav, but we did not know who he was. We did not know that he is the Juga avatar, Potit Pavan Hetu Taba avatar, who's come to deliver the fallen. We didn't know. We neglected. We even criticized. We even chastised. Insulted. And this is the mood of the residents of Navadip as they falling at the feet of Vijayapatashpati. Ekhane dekhao tar charan jugal tobe ami papi shob hoibe shopal. Ekhane, having come here, dekhao, you show us tar charan jugal, just show us his lotus feet. Tobe ami papi shob. And this way we can perfect our lives, our sinful lives. We can perfect our sinful lives just by seeing his lotus feet. You kindly show us his lotus feet.
Hari Doni Matro Shuni, Shabai Bodane, chanting the holy name. Everyone, Shabai Bodane, Hari Matro, Hari Doni Matro, chanting the holy name of Hari. Arbakka Kehu Nahi Bole Nahi Shune, Arbakka, another sound, Kehu, nobody, Nahi Bole Nahi Shuni. No one was saying, no one was hearing any other sound apart from the Hari Doni, name of Hari. So hearing these appeals of the devotees and hearing this tumultuous sound of the holy name, Lord Chaitanya, he came out from his solitary room to give his darshan to the assembly. Karuna Shagor Prabhu Shri Gaura Shundor Shabar Udharite Hawe Chingochor. He appeared to deliver all of the living entities. And Hari Doni Shuni Prabhu Param Shantoshe. Hari Doni Shuni, hearing their chanting. Hari Doni Shuni Prabhu Param Shantoshe. Prabhu became greatly pleased. Mahaprabhu became greatly pleased, hearing this huge gathering of people all chanting the holy name in ecstasy. Hoilin Bahir Loker Bhagya Beshe. Hoilin Bahir. He decided to come out and give his darshan, and in this way bestow mercy upon all of those people who had gathered there. And now Vrindavan Das Thakur will go on to describe this beautiful form of the Lord that he displayed to all of the devotees who had arrived there in the house of Vijayapachashpati. Now it appears that we're not sure next week whether we'll have the class. Will be in Ramkelly, actually. We'll be in Ramkelly. We'll be discussing Ramkelly here in a few weeks, but we'll be in Ramkelly, teaching a course there, teacher's training course next weekend. So let's see, we may not have the class next Sunday. We probably won't be able to because we'll be busy teaching all day. So let's hear about this form. We'll hear about this form that Mahaprabhu displayed on the balcony of Vijayapachashpati's home. And all those people have gathered there. That's about text number 325 of chapter 3, Antalila. So we'll carry on from that point in the next meeting, which we expect will be in 2 weeks from now. So are there any questions on the topics discussed today?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavad Pranam.
Krishna.
Dandavad Pranam.
Sachit Ananda Advaita Prabhu, yes?
Prabhu, you told about on sannyasi in Ujjain, he was attending all the sadhana, morning, evening, and how important for a devotee to attend morning and evening sadhana. Can you explain?
Yeah, well, it's essential. As much, it's like the question is, how important is it for us to eat every day? I mean, if you don't eat breakfast, you're going to be exhausted by lunchtime. And if you don't eat the evening meal, then you'll be a mess. What to speak so like that? That's how as important as it is for us to eat that in terms of our body. So our consciousness, our spiritual consciousness has to be sustained by regular sadhana practice. And if we neglect that, then our consciousness will just become covered over by the material energy. Now, sadhana, for those who are, of course, those who are living in the temple, for them, attendance in the program is compulsory. Those who are living in the temple, that's why we live in the temple, so that we can attend the program. Brahmacharis and other those who are living in the temple full time. Now, if you're not fortunate enough to live in the temple full time, a young person should consider, young people, that before they enter householder life, at least to spend some time living in the temple. Young men, of course, in the Western countries, ladies can also live in our temples. In India, we don't have that facility, but young men should also spend a year or two or even 5 years as a brahmachari before entering householder life. That will make it so much easier for you to remain Krishna conscious in your household life. We don't expect everybody to remain brahmachari whole life. In fact, most people will be householders.
those greatly fortunate, rare, exalted souls that can remain in the renounced order whole life. For them, spiritual life is very, perfection in spiritual life is very easy to attain. But that may not be possible it's not possible for everybody. So those who are in household life, and you may not be able to attend the temple program every day. If you live close to the temple, then you can. As much as possible, that's ideal. But if not, then the temple program, a similar program should be practiced at home for a practicing devotee. One should rise early and chant. If you can chant 16 rounds, of course, initiated devotees have to do that at minimum. But even if you're not, as many rounds as you can chant, that should be regularly done. Shankapurvakanam. So use the beads and chant. If you chant 8 rounds, or 4 rounds, or 2 rounds, 8 rounds, 4, regulate, and then gradually you can increase. Chanting japa, that has to be done every day. At Grihe Babonete Take, Hagoranga Boledake. Narottam sings Grihe Babonete Take. You live at home or you live in the forest, as they're enunciate. Hagoranga Boledake. You have to chant the name of Gauranga. So the japa has to be done every day at home, if not in the temple. And the hearing and some archana, if possible, some deity worship. Oh, of course, you have to do some deity worship because you have to eat. So you have to make offerings. So some little arati, some deity worship, this should be done on a regular basis. So whatever you're able to maintain, like a couple of hours, minimum a couple of hours. Even the chanting will take a couple of hours. So the 3 or 4 hours of sadhana every morning. That's compulsory for any serious practitioner of Krishna consciousness. It's easier if you come to the temple and do in the temple, but if that's not possible, I know those of you who are living in cities in India, the traffic is so bad that you may only be able to visit the temple occasionally, but at least every morning, at least there should be 3 hours. Maybe that's a little difficult for you in the beginning. You chant some rounds. We heard that Prabhupada chanted 4 rounds in the morning, 4 rounds at noon, 4 rounds in the evening, and 4 rounds before taking rest. In Prabhupada, we heard that. But in any case, the morning hours are the best hours to sadhana. So if you can chant substantial number of rounds in the morning, and then some deity worship, some hearing Krishna Katha, some hearing the Shastra, that should be done every day. Of course, you can be doing other things and have some recording, some audio going on when you're taking bath or when you're taking prasadam or getting dressed or cleaning or this and that. And then as much as possible, attend the classes. Shravana Dishuddha Chitte Korayo Udoy. That quickly that you want to Korayo Udoy, that you want to the arousal of the Krishna Prema, then that much effort you should put into the sadhana. It's as simple as that. The more effort you put into the sadhana, wherever, best in the temple, best in the association of other Vaishnavas, however you manage to do the sadhana, the more attentive, the more high quality the sadhana is, the more quickly your love of Godhead will awaken. So that's a simple equation here, a simple formula.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Aishwarya Shobhadra Devi Dasi is the question.
Hi, Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for the wonderful lecture. And Pranam. Prabhu, you were telling about how Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur established Devi Varnashrama. So can you please explain a little bit more on that?
Well, it's called Devi Varnashrama. It's a little different from what we call Varna Ashram, or what in common terminology, what in the West they call caste system. They call caste system. Of course, the caste system exists in the West. We just saw the new king of England. What was his qualification? His father was the king, or his mother was the queen. That's the only qualification. Yeah, only qualification, nothing else. And his son will become the king. No other, regardless of what sort of a person he is. So that's caste system. In the West, they have caste system. So we don't have caste system. The Devi Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he didn't establish caste system. He established Devi Varnashram. In other words, the Varnashram system that Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, Maya Shrishtam Chaturvanam, the Devi Varnashram system, it was incorporated by Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur in whatever way is conducive for the practicing of Krishna consciousness. So as we mentioned, he established sannyasis. Sannyasis in our movement are there to be leaders in the preaching, to be missionary leaders. So that's why we have sannyasis. We have Brahmins in our movement because we have the temples.
And so we have Brahmins worshipping in the temples and Brahmins involved in education. So we're using aspects of Varna Ashram for our organization of the Krishna consciousness movement. We have Vaishyas, we have farm communities, we have cows, not enough Vaishyas actually, farming, etc. We have Grihastha Ashram. Grihastha Ashram. Prabhupada personally married disciples. Prabhupada, he was a sannyasi. Sannyasi in Shastra mentions the sannyasi shouldn't even attend a wedding. Prabhupada married disciples. That's Devi Varnashram. He married disciples in order to, because they were girlfriend and boyfriend. He said, this, you can't be girlfriend and boyfriend. So either you're a brahmachari or a sannyasi or you're a grihastha. So he married disciples, and according to the systems of the Vaishnava Vivaha, as given in the Satkriya Deepika by Sanatana Goswami Prabhupada. So all of these rituals are performed by Vaishnava Vivaha. So that's called Devi Varnashram. I'm not sure, I don't think Siddhartha Saraswati Thakur married disciples, but he had initiated Grihastha disciples. So in this way, we incorporate, we accept the aspects of the Varna Ashram system in order for organizing the mission and organizing our activities and organizing our social structure in the Krishna consciousness movement. That's called Devi Varna Ashram.
Thank you, Prabhu.
There's a question from Niraj.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, why karmas are carried forward from many janmas to next janma, and like that, why it can't be settled in the same janma itself?
Well, that's how the material nature works. That's how the material nature works. So it's the same culprit. It's the same culprit, and you're accountable. Either you suffer in this life, or you suffer in the next life, or you enjoy in this life, or you enjoy in the next. Why is it? This is that some people are born in opulence and born in great material facility, and others are born in materially impoverished. That's not random. What sort of an organization is that? That's not fair. That's not systematic. So the birth, in other words, our place of birth, that's according to our previous Bunjana evatmakritam pipakam. We have to endure the results of our previous evatmakritam, the previous activities that we perform. So either in this life or next life. So that's the system of why it's not all exhausted in one life. Or that's the system of that's the system of material conditioning, material entanglement, material punishment. That's how it goes. But the good news, Niraj, is that all of that karma can be destroyed simply by chanting the name of Krishna. Karmadi niddhati kintu cha bhakti bhajam. By Bhagavad Bhakti, by Krishna consciousness, all of one's karma is destroyed, and it's not completely destroyed, nashta prayeshu abhadri, almost destroyed. You still have a body, which is a result of your previous karma. But so many of your so many karmas, which we were due to experience, are removed, or just as a token experience is there by the mercy of the Lord. And Krishna personally, Mameviya prapaddamte mayametam charantite. The extent to which we surrender to Krishna, Krishna personally delivers you from that position of entanglement. So the karma is destroyed, and we can rely on the protection of Krishna and the care of Krishna as we carry on practicing Krishna consciousness. Jeev Krishna das e bishash kole to adukhanai. Because we don't require to suffer like a materialist suffers. Materialist, the suffering is there to awaken them. I tried, it doesn't work. The suffering is there to bring us to the point of understanding that you cannot enjoy. We're not inherently the enjoyer, we're the servant. So suffering is there in this world to help bring us to that realization. I'm not meant for enjoying, I'm meant for serving Krishna. But when one has understood that he's Krishna's servant, he doesn't need to suffer anymore. He's learned the lesson. Jeev Krishna das e bishash kole to adukhanai. So all of the karmas can be removed by practicing Krishna consciousness.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for the wonderful class, Prabhu. I have a question that sometimes some people, they chant, but then sometimes they feel so low that they don't want to chant, they don't want to do any service. They're not relishing anything like the taste in Krishna consciousness. How to give a boost to them that low time, during that low times?
Sri Lakshmi, that's a good question. Everyone experiences such occasions. But rest assured, if we weren't in Krishna consciousness, we would be more miserable in those circumstances. If we weren't in Krishna consciousness, we would be more miserable. So understand that being in Krishna consciousness, that misery is reduced, and we carry on. We carry on chanting Hare Krishna, practicing Krishna consciousness. It will not last. Agama apayana anitdas tantitiksha shabharata. Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, Agama apayana anitda. That the sukha dukkha, happiness and distress, it comes on its own accord. Agama apayana anitdas. But it doesn't stay. Even the happiness, even the material enjoyment, it comes and goes. And similarly, distress, material distress comes and goes. So in this way, we just hang in there, you just tolerate, and things will get better. And particularly in Krishna consciousness, you'll be feeling better the next day, or even later in the afternoon, you'll be feeling much better. So you just carry on in Krishna consciousness through Lakshmi. That's how we can advise people when they're feeling in that way. And there's a question from Hat Katreche.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So, like in 10th chapter, 35th verse, Lord Krishna says, Masana Marga Shishoham. So, why specifically this month rather than any other month like Kartik month or maybe Bhadra month, the month of Janmashtami?
I can't give much of a response to that. I'm sure in the Puranic literature you'll find so many reasons why Kartik month is so much dear to the Lord, and Margashirsha these months. But anyway, this time of the year is such a beautiful climate. What can we say? It's perfect time of year. It's not cold, it's not hot, it's just perfect time of year. And so Kartik month is so wonderful to spend Kartik month in Vrindavan or Kartik month in Mayapur. So wonderful, best time of the year. There are other reasons why these months are dear to the Lord, but I can't provide any of those at the moment without some research. Namita Togar.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, as it is little difficult for women to take sannyas, so can you please advise how can a woman focus on bhakti being in grahastha, considering today's generation, they are also working?
Yeah. Namita Ataji. Yeah, so not little difficult for ladies to take sannyas. It's not possible. It's not possible. So in the Vedic culture, which Prabhupada incorporated in our society in Krishna consciousness, ladies have 3 stages in life. When they're Kumari, unmarried, then they're under protection of the father. When they're married, then they're under the protection of the husband. And then later in life, if the husband takes sannyas, they're under the protection of the son. So in this way, the 3 stages are ideal, recommended for the Strigon, Sukriti Strigon, for a pious lady, Krishna conscious lady. She's under protection of father, under protection of husband, or under protection of son at all stages in life. So then the Sri Dharma is there. The Sri Dharma, you can read, if you like, more detail on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 9, where Bhishma Dev is instructing the Pandavas before departing. So he mentions Sri Dharma there. And in Mahabharata, it's further elaborated on Sri Dharma. Ideally, the service to the Vaishnava husband and service to the family. That's the ideal religious duty of the wife. So serving the husband in his practice of Krishna consciousness, and serving the family, serving the children, feeding them prasadam. That's and keeping the house, the Krishna conscious atmosphere in the house. That's so important. It's so important. That's such an effect. So important. I mean, look at Prabhupada's household life. His mother was was very faithful and they're worshipping the deity, and it had such an effect on Srila Prabhupada. So just by being a faithful housewife, one has the possibility of producing a great acharya who can deliver the world. That's the potential for every housewife. So in our movement, actually, we encourage the values of housewife. We encourage that. Now, in the case where ladies are working, that's also acceptable in our movement. It's not that it's forbidden. So ladies can also have career, but you have to practice Krishna consciousness. You have to have strong sadhana, and ladies can also preach, preaching Krishna consciousness, preaching online. Our Namnishta Prabhu explained to me that his best preachers are the ladies. So online preaching, you can do that. Housewives, you may have a job, you may not have a job, but those housewives, they can also do online preaching at home and preaching to whatever extent you can. All of this can be done by ladies. But sannyasi is not required, because sannyasi wanders alone. And not possible for a lady to wander alone, because she'll be abused by unscrupulous men. So in this way, sannyas is there for the men, and the ladies have their duties at home, keeping the home Krishna conscious. If they work, they can also be Krishna conscious. They can also preach at work, and they can also preach from home, and they can preach to relatives, and they can preach online. All of these opportunities are there for ladies in the Krishna consciousness movement. Can also take up responsibility in the temple environment, training. The senior ladies can train the junior ladies, and the children's classes, it can all be done by ladies. So there's no shortage of wonderful Krishna conscious services for ladies in our community. And by enthusiastically performing these services, that ladies can attain perfection in this very life. Thank you all very much. We look forward to your association, perhaps in a fortnight's time. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Dashashmi. Hare Krishna.
He told Sridhar Prabhu, tomorrow I should explain this. What is saying tomorrow for my Bhagavatam class? Good. So I make good. Huh? This much is that I can 1 hour I can. Huh? Okay, thank you everybody. We'll leave now. Hare Krishna. Thank you everybody. Hare Krishna.